subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Namaste, konnichiwa. Welcome to the Nupur Show. And today we have the country head and managing director of Wipro, Mr. Dhruv Anand. Dhruv, welcome to the Nupur Show.
Hi, Nipper, and to your audiences, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Just a small correction. My name is Dhruv Anand, country head and managing director, Wipro Japan. But that's okay.
Okay.
That's how much you like Wipro. It's clear to me.
Yeah, I never worked for Wipro, but yeah, I like the people who work there, definitely. Yeah. So Japan is totally different kind of country. So how is your experience working in Japan?
Nipper, half my living age and my complete professional career has been out of this geography, Japan. Therefore, if I wish to, and I will elaborate on what I say, but if I wish to say that in one word, it's been a wonderful experience living here. I couldn't be more humbled with the open arms and the open heart that this country has accepted me for the last 2 decades, a little bit more than that, which clearly is a long time. I miss back home India on any given day, but this is my new home. And to answer your question is what you said. I think having lived here half my life, I'm able to understand the best of both the worlds, amalgamate it, and perhaps try my best to bring it to the people who I interact with. That's the longhand answer that I can tell you. But the shorthand answer is clearly it's a wonderful experience living in Japan.
Wow. So how many years you have been living in Japan?
I would like to say 23 years, but I call it 2 decades because that sounds longer. Right? And to be born in a different country, but to spend 23 years, and by no means of disrespect to anyone who lives in the west side of the world, to spend 23 years in a geography, it clearly means that one has fallen in love with that geography, or that country, or that city, or that village, whatever that place may be. So it's been 23 years, and 23 years have just flown by.
Okay, this is very new information for me. I thought I am older than you here in Japan. So you're 23, I'm 20.
I'm not sure if that's the barometer we want to measure, but yes, it has been that long. But clearly you've been here for 2 decades, so you clearly love the country as much as I do, if not more.
Definitely. I think we all fall in love with this country. Definitely. So,
Yeah,
and you worked in India also?
I have this very interesting story that I tell to all my friends, my colleagues, my dear ones is, and I don't know if your audience would know, so therefore I shall tell. Having finished my university, I joined Wipro. I was picked up by Wipro. And my very first assignment was here in Japan. I spent a good amount of time, a little less than a decade in Wipro before I moved to another company, which is again an Indian heritage company. And by the virtue of that switch, I thought I'd go back to India, spend some time there. It took me only 7 months to realize I was coming back to Japan. And therefore, my entire stint in India has been about 7 to 10 months. Everything besides of that in the professional career has been in Japan. And I say this to my friends who are more Japanese, who love India, is that people do not go to India because they bought a ticket or have a visa. India calls upon them. And that's when they visit India. My part of the story is different. Japan called upon me, and so I'm here. To answer your question, I've done about a little shy of a year in India. But since I come from Wipro, an Indian heritage company, I don't miss the heritage. I don't miss the culture. Our company is completely ingrained with it.
Wow. So how different it is working in India and working in Japan? Many would love to know.
Yeah, and like I said, like I said, I've been given this opportunity, if I may say so, to amalgamate the best of the two worlds. And one has to look at it from different lenses, right? You've been here for 2 decades, so you know how disciplined, how process oriented, how certainty driven Japan is, right? When the Olympics came, they said omote nashi, you service without asking for anything. So there's a sense of certainty here. There's a sense of uncertainty in India, curiosity, uncertainty. Things will happen, things will not happen. And that uncertainty is beautiful in itself. It is extremely beautiful in itself if you understand that uncertainty. Now, I say I've been blessed with this opportunities because I see the certainty, which is in Japan, and that's quality of service, quality of life, quality of people, to the amazing uncertainty. And when you bring these two worlds together, you seldomly see differences, but you also see the conjunction of these two. So that's one, the certainty and the uncertainty, but both are extremely important in one's life. The other thing, which I think is extremely different, and I will say this in a jovial way, is I think the Japanese culture is very settled about saying as much as needed and not saying more than that. Hindi as the language it is and the way it is written also helps you to express yourself a lot. The amount of speaking that gets done in India, I feel, is a lot more than that gets done in Japan, because a lot of things are read between the lines, right? Again, these are two different types, natures of culture. But when you bring both these two together, it's really an art in itself, in my opinion. One thing that I miss is the nice Indian spicy curry, but I think the Indian restaurants in Japan do a wonderful job of it too. But then again, food from the motherland is always food from the motherland.
True.
I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah.
I would definitely like to tell them that there are wonderful Indian restaurants. I'm also surprised that there are Indians. I don't know if your audience knows this, and I don't know the name of the Indian restaurant, but there is Japanese nationals running Indian restaurant who have studied the art of cuisine in India. Again, the certainty that I spoke of. Yeah.
True. Actually, yeah, the way you were answering question, I can totally understand the Omotenashi thing and the 23 years experience and how Japan called you.
I feel there's a calling there. I feel there's a calling there, and we hear of it in the news. The India-Japan corridor. There is a lot of focus from the government on it. I know that you are putting a lot of focus and character into it, which is amazing. And therefore, the calling is coming now, in my opinion. And I think these two cultures, geographies, economies have a lot to learn from each other.
True, very correct. Yeah, actually, the calling you said, I believe that was only for me, but the second person I'm meeting, that someone is saying that was a call. So yeah, it is actually I think there is a calling, which actually I felt for myself, and when I tell it to the people, like, why did you come to Japan? I said, I really don't know. There is total call. Japan called me. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I still remember the first day I landed in Narita International Airport and I felt I've arrived. I'm sure you know that feeling. You've arrived.
I know. Yeah. And for me, it was
it's inexplicable, if I may. It's inexplicable. You can't put it to words. It is that beauty, and beauty you can't put to words. It lies in the eyes of the beholder, as they say.
True. Very true. Yeah. Maybe many Japanese, they experience when they arrive, they land in Delhi or other parts of India. I'm sure, because India called
I've
them.
had friends who've traveled to India with me, who have traveled to my own cousin's wedding, and just fell in love with India. Now they don't need the Dhruv Anand to take them there. They're just there and say, I'm in India, here's a picture for you. So there is a calling. I totally agree. I couldn't resonate more with that.
True, true. So, as they say, the Japanese work a lot. Being in Japan, like, do you really work a lot, or you make your employees work a lot? This is just a, in a lighter note.
I think when one perceives it outside of this island country, it is perceived as working a lot. I like taking a step back. And what I mean by that is the following. The Japanese culture, the Japanese behavior is all close to perfection, is all extremely certainty driven with processes and processes written. To achieve that, there has to be a lot of nevamashi, speaking to each other in agreement. There also has to be a lot of planning. In Japan, there is this word called PDCA. Well, it's not a word. It's just a short form, if I may. PDCA, plan, do, check, and then action happens, right? The planning is long, but because the planning is so perfect and takes time, the action is lesser. You need lesser action. So if someone tells me Japanese work a lot, I think they do. It is needed, but the ask for perfection calls for it. Perfection is the outcome we see, but not the action that goes into it, if you understand what I'm saying, if your audience appreciates what I'm saying. And therefore, do I work a lot? No, I don't think so. I should be working more. Do my employees work a lot? I think they work a lot, and I wish I could give them a 3-day weekend. Off the records. We all like Saturday, Sunday, we keep it that way. But I wish I could give them a 3-day weekend.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Companies like Wipro and the other great Indian heritage companies are all, as said by the Constitution of India, of the people, by the people, for the people. Our Constitution says this. Therefore, working together, and here's the thing, in any civilization, when people go from point A to point B, they all get together, and the first thing they construct is a temple. In our world, it's a temple. Here, it could be a shrine. An office is like a temple for all of us. Do we visit a lot to the temple? Of course, we visit a lot to the temple. We love the temple. A little bit of an abstract answer to your question.
Yeah, it's as we say, it's kind of, as you said, actually, to bring the perfection, we have to put ourselves into it. So I think that is the way it should be, because there is no shortcut. When you want the best, there is no shortcuts. Yeah.
There is no shortcut to success. And success doesn't taste good alone. It tastes good only when you have everyone with you. So there are no shortcuts to it. I couldn't agree more to what he just said.
Exactly. I'm sure that you're an inspiration for all the employees, the people are working with you.
I hope so.
About it.
I hope so. I rather take inspiration from my employees rather than them taking inspiration from me, I feel. They have a lot more of energy that I work upon. I wish I can give them back more than what I take from them in terms of energy.
Experience. Maybe they have the energy because they are in their 20s, maybe most of them, but you have the experience.
Perhaps.
So it's like something you can give, something you can take.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what Wipro Japan is planning for do you have any particular plan for the future, which absolutely, many, especially those who really want to come to Japan from India and want to work for Wipro, they would love to know about it.
And I'd like to say this in 3 dimensions. The first dimension is people. Companies like Wipro and Wipro itself, like I said, are all about people. Our customers are people. Our employees are people. Our customer are also people. So it's all about people. In that sense, the culture that we've all been brought up with also educates us to respect, be curious, particularly the Indian one. And we are taught this from childhood, be curious. We're taught of this not only in our school, but anywhere one would go, be curious. If someone asks me what's the holy grail of coming to Japan, it's about liking the culture. And this culture is very beautiful. It goes all the way back to Buddhism, and Buddhism started from both Gaya and India. That's how tightly these two geographies are linked. Sorry. So that's a quadrant of people, and people who take a liking for the culture, liking for a difference in the culture, for the difference in food. I think this is a great place to be. The second dimension, which is more directed to your question, what does Wipro Japan want to do? We, not just Wipro Japan, but Wipro wants to be a place where people come and they spend 9 hours of their day here. It's a constant endeavor for us to be a big, one large family. It's not easy to get there because we are driven by work, we are driven by timelines, we are driven by deadlines, we are driven by commitment. But one has to feel involved and immersed in the company you are at. And that's a constant endeavor. By the virtue of doing so, I think motivation gets built in any individual, and therefore delivery is just an outcome. The delivery to perfection, the delivery to timelines, the delivery to deadlines, right? Mm-hmm. So that's my constant focus in Wipro Japan. But because I'm in Japan, it is also very heavily it is extremely big on my radar to be a globalized organization. Meaning, I want to stay true to the geography. This company is not a foreign company coming from the foreign land. This is a company that has come with the name of from a foreign country, but it is a Japanese company. That's for me is local, but it's also my responsibility to bring in the global part of it. And therefore I call it global. That's my constant endeavor. The third dimension is this is one of the largest economies in the world as we speak. It's been ahead of the curve for ever so long. Japan was rather known by the brand and not by the products. We never said we have a CD player. We would say we have a Sony Walkman, right? We do it. And therefore, this country is driven by a brand. And one has to identify to that brand. Wipro has to be identified as a brand also in Japan for the technology that we provide, for the people that we enable to come to Japan, but also for Japanese nationals to feel at home in this company, which originally came from the foreign land, right? That's my constant endeavor. Of course, it goes with technology. It goes with servicing our customers. Customer always at the epicenter of everything that we think, want to achieve or do, but also be able to provide value in return. That's my constant focus as a part of the company. Yeah. I hope I gave you a little bit of insight as to what Wipro Japan is focusing at.
Yeah, absolutely. You did. And I was just really very, I concentrated and I was listening to you. I am really amazed the way you explain and the things you are doing, the way that this is definitely, the company came from foreign land, but this is local. This is a very strong word and strong and positive word, I would say. And yeah, it's beautiful. I'm sure that, many of the
resonates. The word that resonates a lot with me when I say this is assimilation. Bring everyone together. A 1 + 1 should be equal to a 3 and not 1 + 1 equal to 2 or a 1.5, right? Assimilation of diversity, both in terms of gender, nationality, and culture. That's at the core heart of the value. of this company, not just Wipro Japan, but Wipro as I speak. And it comes again from the founders of this company itself.
True, true. Actually, here again, though, that India has the youth, the I think 25 years old, the most I think how many percent is certainly I have forgotten right now, but that is and their dream. Many of them they are looking forward to working with and for Wipro, for sure. And I get a lot of messages every day. They want to work in Japan. You know, many IT engineers they want to work in Japan, and I definitely don't have that capacity to. I just I always say that I'm not into recruitment or anything like that. But for those especially who want to work in Japan, work for Wipro, what would you like to say to them?
Well, not just for Wipro, but for any Indian heritage company or a foreign heritage company that has come to Japan, which clearly shows an interest to be in Japan. And then again, Japanese heritage companies or Japanese large multinationals or mid-cap. I think for the Indian youth, there is a great potential in delivering curiosity and uncertainty to this land of certainty. Right? Just being able to amalgamate those two, and I keep going back to that, is a huge potential for the Indian talent. But for the potential to be unlocked, for the potential to be delivered, my father used to tell me that, and I'm a great fan of sports. And my father used to tell me that what you see on the television, which is, let's say, the 9 seconds of Usain Bolt or the amazing batsmanship of Sachin Tendulkar, comes as the iceberg. What you see is the tip of the iceberg. Under the water, there is an amazing amount of effort and preparation that goes into it, which people do not see. Minus of that, you don't see 9.8 seconds in 100 meters, right? And therefore, I want to allude that there's a lot of preparation that Indian nationals, Indian youth have to do. In Japanese, there's a saying, "Goni iru goni shitagai." It's also there in English saying, "Do in Rome as Romans do." I went through it personally through this company because this company provided me the privilege to go through a program called Shimpo, which is about learning Japanese and immersion into the culture. To be able to appreciate and be able to work in Japan, one has to know the language. And knowing the language is not speaking. Knowing the language is also being able to appreciate the language, right? Clearly, that's important. And it is, I'm sure you do too. I have a few foreign friends who speak Hindi, and it just touches my heart when they do so. It shows their interest and their love for my land, right? I urge the same to our Indian youth as well, to learn the language, because if you want to be here, you have to be one of them, not somebody who's come from the outside. So that's one. The potential will be unlocked in Japan. Undoubtedly, the economy is bouncing back. We are over Corona, we are over COVID, and businesses have opened up. Work from home used to be the new de facto, but again, collaboration and working from home or hybrid is coming through, which means the economy will unlock. And by the virtue of that, being able to speak the language, being able to enable with the technology, and a hunger to discover Japan, I feel are the three big catalysts for any Indian youth in any stream of education, whether that's STEM or that's non-sciences stream. I think that's the key. And I'm actually very happy these days to see so many Indian graduates graduating out of Japanese universities, right? I think the trend is coming. The economy will unlock itself, and therefore there's a huge potential for Indian nationals, but the preparation has to be done. Last but not the least, I have always urged myself before anyone else, originality. is extremely important. Plagiarizing is not the only way, right? So learning Japanese is a way, but the originality of the Indian mind must have to remain even when one lands in Japan. I think that's the real potential out there, in my opinion. So
Exactly.
language, technology, food, liking for people, and the liking for discipline, if I may. It's extremely high here. The discipline in Japan, and you will perhaps appreciate it as much as I do, the discipline is state of the art.
True, true. So after listening to you again, I would say that there is no shortcut. The preparation is very much needed.
There is no shortcut to success. There is no shortcut to anything, in my belief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the youth, I think this is a very great message because these days, I think youth, they give a lot of example. Actually, I'm working with few, Indian, my, fellow Indians, and they always give example where the shortcut really helped other people. So I'd say the same thing, but listening to you, I'm sure that they will be learning that there is no shortcut for any kind of success.
I agree.
Yeah.
I hope I've answered your question, though.
Yeah,
For you and for your audience.
So, since you talked about that, the preparation and the language, loving the country, so you definitely speak Japanese.
I went through this program called Shimpo,
Mm-hmm.
which Wipro executes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete 8-month immersion into the language, the culture, and it is only educated by Japanese teachers or senseis, as we call them, right? It is fresh in my mind that I was in Yogannanupur in the Wipro office in a learning center. The Japanese sensei walked in, and the first word he said was konnichiwa. It was extremely clear that from then on, one had to only speak Japanese. Now, this is on a day when I don't know a word other than konnichiwa. I think that's a very global word, but besides of that, nobody knew. That's how things start. Complete immersion. English was left outside. Hindi was left outside. Everything was left outside that classroom. It was a mini Japan there. And therefore, by the virtue of having been through such a beautiful immersion program, yes, I do speak Japanese. I think I should do better, but I'm extremely fond of kanjis, and they've always amazed me of how you can say so much with just one character in itself in an art. To answer your question, yes, I do speak Japanese. I'm also married to a Japanese, and the boss of the house is always the better half, and therefore I better speak her language.
Yeah, definitely. But
So I do
Japanese
speak language,
is
yes.
very beautiful language. As
It
you
is.
said,
It
kanji,
is.
each kanji tells story.
It
So
is. It is such a beautiful language that they have kanjis, hiragana, and katakana. What a fantastic way to have a language. You have 3 scripts, much like India, right? We have so many scripts.
true,
That's how close these two cultures are.
true. So, since you're so much immersed with this country, you love Japan, you're married with Japanese, your everything is in Japan. So, do you miss India? Anything do you miss about India or anything Indian?
Oh, like I said, I always miss India. I have great fondness for my motherland. To the extent that I do make it a point that in a month I read at least one book that's written by an Indian author. I think it keeps me grounded. It also helps me stay away from India, but still be close to India. The one thing that I do miss about India is the food, the variety of our food, whether that's from north all the way to the south, from the east to the west. The variety in our food is so amazing that I miss the food. But then again, I also get amazing food in Japan. So if I miss the food.
True. Any favorite food do you have?
Indian or Japanese?
Indian and Japanese.
Your audience, I'm sure you know this, but there's something called takoyaki in
Yes,
Japanese, which is a small
taco inside.
ball
Yeah.
which has a small piece of octopus, but you have to relish the entire bowl to get the very small piece of octopus. So you always have to be constantly aware of what you're eating to realize that taste. Likewise, in India, there's this kofta.
Yeah, yeah.
My mother makes amazing kofta. I miss it. I miss it. Those are the two foods that I miss. But ironically, both of them are small balls, ball-like structures. I think now it's ingrained in me to find the differences and therefore have a liking for the two. But those are my two most favorite foods.
Kofta and takoyaki.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So when you definitely, your company wants you to, definitely your position, demands you to work a lot. But when you don't work, how do you spend time?
God's given me two beautiful kids. That in itself is a getaway of staying grounded. I think everything that happens through the day, which keeps us busy, when I go back home, it all just gets washed away because of their energies and their pureness. So that's one. Two, I mentioned I'm a sportsman. I started playing squash at a very young age with my father. And therefore, to clean up my mind, to cleanse the energy, I go back to the squash court ever so often. And I have extremely good Japanese friends who play with me. So that helps me refresh, one, to keep myself grounded. It also helps me to learn my own self. And I think that's a good getaway for me.
Yeah.
But my kids are always on top of the priority list. A minute spent with them is a diamond in my life.
Totally understand. Yeah. So do you have any favorite destination, holiday destination, I would say, in Japan or outside Japan?
My better half comes in from Ehime Prefecture. It's a land of oranges.
That was the land where I landed the first time, Matsuyama.
Is that true? So clearly that land was calling upon us. My favorite place is Atu, when I go back and meet my mother. My father is no longer. So that's one of my most favorite destinations. And the other is my better half's hometown, which is Ehime Ken or Ehime Prefecture, and then Matsuyama, which is a city in Ehime Prefecture. Those two places, I go back to a family who accept me for who I am, outside of this office or even when I'm in the office. Those are my two favorite destinations. Jabalpur in India and Matsuyama in Japan. I could fly there at any given point of time without a doubt that I'll be happy.
Wow. So, honestly, I thought that it is not an interview, that I'm learning so many things. It's like the way you answered each and every question. There is since I'm a spiritual person, I try to find spirituality in everything, but very spiritual way, definitely, And lastly, definitely, you'd love to know, since you come from India and Indian youth, you are such an inspiration for everyone. We'd love to know, what would you like to tell them, not for only Wipro, working for Wipro, but in general, what would be your message for today's youth in India?
Not just in India, I think I would want the entire population of this world to be global citizens versus citizens of India or citizens of Japan or elsewhere. It is upon us to be global citizens, and global citizenship comes with responsibilities. Those responsibilities are not slated anywhere, but staying true to oneself and others is a deeper understanding of responsibility. And once that is attained, I think global citizenship can be achieved. I try to do it every day. I don't know if I do a good job of it, but if I was to ask and give a message, be global citizens, respect yourself, respect others. That's one. And two, wealth can be earned. Health and time are the only two assets that diminish over time. Don't lose your time and never lose your health. that's that's a motto of my life. I hope that helps the youth listening your channel. That's a motto that at least I have lived my life with.
Thank you. It was, I really learned a lot, definitely.
No,
Thank you so
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity for being on your channel, on your show, to your audience. It's been a pleasure being here, and I'm really humbled that you took interest in speaking with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for making time, and thank you for, so I know how busy you are and giving so much time to me. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. You too. Bye-bye.
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.